welcome to the 700 Club. Thanks so much for joining with us. Well, Jews worldwide will be celebrating the Feast of Passover tonight. They'll also be grieving for the hostages still held captive in terror tunnels by Hamas.
Well, today, a top-ranking Israeli general has resigned over intelligence failures under his watch. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
The head of Israel's military intelligence resigned his post, citing intelligence failures that led to the October 7th attack by Hamas. In his resignation letter, General Aharon Haliva wrote, "The intelligence directorate under my command did not live up to the task we were entrusted with. I carry that black day with me ever since, day after day, night after night. I will carry the horrible pain of the war with me forever." It's not clear if it will set the stage for more resignations, and some fear it comes at a dangerous time as Israel prepares for the Passover holiday and its troops are on high alert. Sunday night, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pledged to bring back the captives in Gaza.
On this Seder night, our hostages being held by Hamas are before our eyes. Their suffering and the suffering of their families rends our hearts and only strengthens our resolve to bring them back.
Netanyahu also took to social media to thank the U.S. Congress for passing critical military aid for Israel over the weekend. Yet Israeli leaders are also criticizing the U.S. State Department decision to sanction an Israeli battalion accused of torturing a West Bank Palestinian back in 2022. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant wrote, "Any attempt to criticize an entire unit casts a heavy shadow on the actions of the IDF, which operates to protect the citizens of Israel. Damage to one battalion affects the entire defense establishment. This is not the right path for partners and friends." Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik wrote on X, "Israel is currently fighting for her right to exist, and at a time when our greatest ally needs us the most. Joe Biden and Secretary Blinken are choosing to purposely undermine Israel to appease the pro-Hamas faction of the Democratic Party." Meanwhile, many Israeli troops won't be home to celebrate this week's Passover. Instead, they'll be guarding against threats from north, south, east, and west.
IDF forces are deployed along the entire length of the borders of the State of Israel to ensure the safety of the citizens of the State of Israel.
The Israeli government also released a video highlighting the plight of the hostages. It shows what Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter would look like without a family member at the table.
No family in the world should celebrate like this. 133 men, women, and children will not celebrate Passover with their families this year. On October 7th, they were abducted from their homes, and now they are held captive in Hamas terror tunnels.
At Seders in Israel and around the world, some Jews will be leaving one seat empty to remember those hostages. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, let's remember the hostages. This Passover, let's remember there's some empty chairs around Passover Seder services, and we need to remember that they need to come home. In all of the talk of what Israel is doing in this war, what would we do? What would you do if a family member was abducted by a terror group and held in a tunnel somewhere? It makes no sense to criticize them for their actions. They didn't start this. Hamas did. Well, in other news, in addition to passing aid for Israel, Congress also passed aid for Ukraine and Taiwan. This action has some Republicans talking about removing Speaker Mike Johnson from power. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That's right, Gordon. While Republicans voted overwhelmingly in favor of aid to Israel and Taiwan, more than half of them voted against aid to Ukraine. As CBN's Dale Hurd reports, Speaker Mike Johnson's support for the bill may cost him his job.
Following months of delays, the House finally pushed through a $95 billion foreign aid package that the Senate is expected to pass this week. It includes more than $60 billion for Ukraine and $26 billion for Israel. But House Speaker Mike Johnson needed help from the Democrats to get the aid bill over the finish line, angering some within his own party. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene and 2 other members agreed on a motion to remove him as Speaker, but have yet to move forward.
He has completely betrayed the Republican Party. He has completely betrayed Republican voters all over the country, and he is absolutely working for the Democrats, passing the Biden administration's agenda.
Johnson may now need help from Democrats to keep his speakership, but a majority of Republicans are reportedly not backing any move to oust him.
Look, I think it's a relatively small number of Republican members. I think both sides have now seen how dangerous this is, how irresponsible it is. I think they're unlikely to remove the Speaker over that.
Detailed in an exclusive report from CBN News, a meeting with Ukrainian evangelicals in Washington reportedly played a role in Speaker Johnson, a Southern Baptist, giving his full backing to the aid for Ukraine.
Our primary and big message to Americans, especially brothers and sisters here, that there is a very bloody war happening in Ukraine, that we're being killed.
Also included in the aid package is legislation that would force the sale of the very popular social media app TikTok from its Chinese parent company or face a nationwide ban in the U.S.
To just ban 170 million Americans who are engaged in speech and livelihood, the federal judge in Montana struck it down. The judges struck it down when Trump tried this. I doubt it survives scrutiny in the Supreme Court.
But TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is known to be under the control of the Chinese Communist government. And the app is a data miner, reportedly stealing the personal information of millions of Americans and sending it back to China. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Dale. Well, officials in New York City issued a security warning ahead of the Passover holiday, concerned about violence against the Jewish community. This warning comes amid rising tension at Columbia University. The school is increasing security on campus, adding 35 security guards and more than 100 other safety-related personnel after pro-Palestinian protesters used violent language, creating a threat to Jewish students. In some cases, the protesters identifying with the terror group that attacked Israel, chanting, "We are Hamas." One rabbi is urging Jewish students to leave campus, saying the school and the city can't guarantee their safety. New York City Mayor Eric Adams says he's horrified by the hate speech, but can't take action unless the school requests it. Police did arrest more than 100 people near the campus last week. Columbia's president condemned the protesters' intimidating and harassing behavior and announced classes will be held remotely today. Well, President Biden warned of an alarming surge of anti-Semitism in his statement marking the Passover holiday. Over the past 6 months, the ongoing conflicts in Israel and the Middle East have led to a huge spike in anti-Semitism across the United States. Correspondent Paul Petit shows us how one state is working to keep their Jewish communities safe.
A county patrol vehicle guards Lubavitch Jewish Center in Little Rock, Arkansas.
We work together with law enforcement to make sure things can operate in a safe way.
At nearby Temple B'nai Israel, tiny pieces of broken glass remain as evidence from an act of vandalism.
I can't say how it happened, but it certainly has never happened before.
Both are examples of growing anti-Semitism across America's heartland. Since the October 7th Hamas attack, Little Rock synagogues have been the target of 2 bomb threats, creating safety concerns for Jewish congregations.
These are incidents we usually see in large metropolitan communities, not in our smaller southern communities. So it's even more shocking. It's even more unsettling to hear that the Little Rock community, the Little Rock Jewish community, is so deeply impacted.
A recent national survey revealed anti-Semitism to be at its highest level since the Anti-Defamation League began tracking the data more than 40 years ago.
Nationally, ADL is reporting out over 3,300 incidents of anti-Semitism reported to ADL since October 7th, so since the war between Israel and Hamas broke out. That's over a 350% increase in anti-Semitic incidents.
Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders calls the right to worship freely and safely our most fundamental right, but nothing existed previously to aid those who were at possible threat of a terrorist attack. So the governor's office worked with the Arkansas State Police and the state legislature to address it.
And basically what it does is it provides funds for organizations that are spiritual or religious-based nonprofit organizations to enhance their safety protocols and to make sure that they are able to offer safe worship for their congregants.
After its approval to provide $500,000, more than 31 applicants responded with requests seeking more than $2 million. So far, $227,000 has been awarded to 6 organizations. Of those 6, 4 are Jewish, including B'nai Israel and Lubavitch of Arkansas, which plans to continue paying for a police presence and adding unseen security measures.
So we were very gratified and thankful to the governor who made this initiative to help reduce the concern and the fear factor that presents itself in the community when this took place on October 7th.
Combating anti-Semitism is a centuries-old battle. Offering funding for protection is one way Arkansas is fighting back. In Little Rock, Paul Petit, CBN News.
Thank you, Paul. Gordon, back to you.
Well, this is a fight for all of us. We need to realize that we have to protect the Jewish citizens of the United States of America. And this is a fundamental for all Americans. It's amazing to me to see this happening in Arkansas and to see Jewish students at Columbia University be afraid to go to class, to see the absolutely horrific rise in attacks against synagogues, hate crimes against Jewish people. The FBI tracks this, and you would think in our age of terrorism, Muslim terrorism, Islamic terrorism, that there would be a spike against Muslims. But no, what we're seeing is a spike against Jews. It absolutely makes no sense unless you first look at it from a spiritual point of view. And the rabbis say in every single generation, a Haman arises who wants to wipe the Jews out. We're seeing it now, and it's called Hamas. So when protesters in New York City say, "We are Hamas," what they're calling for is the extermination of Jews. We who love God need to stand against it and say, no, not on our watch. We vowed never again, and we mean it.